Hello everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel, I don't know. It's been a long time, okay? If you don't like my mullet, I don't like your mullet, so think before you say anything, okay? Anyway, today I'm here to cull my books, okay? My books are doing a mass exodus and they are leaving me. I have realized that at this point in my life, that having a whole bunch of shit on the material plane does not benefit me. And a whole bunch of shit that I don't really want and I don't really care for really doesn't benefit me. So I have tried to go through my books and I've tried to be very strict with myself in being like, am I ever going to revisit this? Do I really care about this book? Does this book have any nostalgia for me? And if the answer was no, I would get rid of it. Obviously some books have slipped through the cracks. There's definitely some books on my shelf right now that I just don't want to part with. For the most part, I'm going to be trying to sell or donate these books. If they don't sell, it's like whatever. I'm not looking to make money. I just want to get rid of them. Let's get right into it. Okay, these are the books that I'm culling. These are the books that have not survived the reaping. To start, The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Erin Morgenstern wrote The Night Circus, which I think is a well-loved book, right? I liked it. You know, it's still on my shelf today. That's not a book that I'm getting rid of. But The Starless Sea is. I read this when it first came out in 2019 or 2020 or whatever. And I didn't give a shit. I like it. I was so amped up for it. I was like, oh, I'm so excited because I love The Night Circus. And then it was like so mid that I didn't give a shit. And if I really do want to revisit it, the library is always an option. So I'm really not worried about this, okay? I'm getting rid of it. Goodbye. The next books, I should say, that I'm getting rid of are the first 5 manga in the Honey So Sweet series. I had this big shoujo phase where I was like, I'm such a shoujo fangirl. I love shoujo. I really don't give a fuck about shoujo. I think a lot of it is quite boring. Some of it's really good, okay? Kimi ni Todoke, like this, I don't give a fuck. It's been on my shelf for years and years at this point. Like, I probably read them. I definitely read at least the first 3. I really don't care. So, au revoir. Okay. Next we have Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. This is just a book. I just don't give a shit. I just don't give a shit. I read this, I think last year. And I thought it was kind of neat. But overall not like exceptional. And I really have no interest in keeping this. In my review, I said that it was kind of like a study in drowning for millennials. And between this and A Study of Drowning, I would much rather read A Study in Drowning. And I hate when a book is too millennial. Leave me alone, please. Oh my god. Next book I'm getting rid of is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. I've never read anything else by Alexandra Bracken. I know she did the Darkest Minds series. Never read that. So this is an Owlcrate book, and I remember going to the bookstore a couple days before I received my book box and being like, I hope to God that the book they send me is not Lore because I don't want to read that. I'm not interested. And of course the book that they sent was Lore. I'm just never gonna read this. I don't care. I'm really not, like, I think this is kind of one of these like Hunger Games type scenarios, but instead of being the Hunger Games, it's like Greek gods battling in a city, which is like in concept pretty neat, but I don't care. And I'm not gonna read it. It's not the fucking Hunger Games, so I'm not reading it, okay? Anyway, next book is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. The Dead Romantics I read maybe last year, and I don't give a shit. It's not something that I'm ever going to reread. I thought it was cute. I thought it was a neat concept. This is another book that is so alarmingly millennial. The fucking main character calls a dog a doggo at one point. I was just like, I am not the target audience. If I was like 35, maybe this would work for me, but like, I'm not. Au revoir it goes. The next book is The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. I read this a couple years ago. Pretty similar deal with The Dead Romantics, where like I liked it. I thought it was a cute book, but I really don't give a shit. Like, I'm never gonna revisit it. I think it will be better served by somebody else and not me. So next book that I'm getting rid of is Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki. This is like a sci-fi YA novel. I read this many years ago at this point, and like it's just something that I'm never gonna pick back up. I thought it was okay. There were some things in this book that really pissed me off, but overall I thought it was like cute and fun and good enough. But good enough is not good enough for my fucking bookshelf, okay? So I'm getting rid of it. The next book is From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon. This is another Owl Crate book that has been sitting on my shelf and sitting on my shelf and sitting on my shelf, and I keep telling myself, like, I am kind of interested. I feel like I could enjoy this, like I could get into it, but I know that I'm not going to. I know that I'm not going to. This is a YA. I feel like YA romances in particular really grate on me. I don't want to read a YA romance. I'm sure this is good. I'm just never going to get around to it. There are books that are more important to me. And again, this is a book that I think will be better served by somebody else. The next book we have here is Dragonfly Girl by Marty Limeback. This is a book that I had never heard of before I picked it up. I picked it up on a whim because I was like, oh, the concept is kind of neat. I read the first 100 pages maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago even. And I didn't care. I didn't care very much. And I remember while reading it being like, I can tell this is for somebody younger than me. And like, there are many books that are very good for young people, but sometimes it's like, I can't do this. And this was one of those scenarios. So goodbye. Next, we have The Huntress by Kate Quinn. The Rose Code by Kate Quinn is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, literally, like top 5, maybe even top 3. I love The Rose Code. Every single other book that I've ever tried to read from her, I haven't liked very much. I read The Alice Network. I didn't love it. I think I read the first maybe 100 pages of this, and I was just not getting into it. I wasn't vibing with it. I know that I'm never going to read this, even though I love The Rose Code so much. Like, this is not The Rose Code. So, I'm sorry, Kate Quinn. I will continue to try, but I will continue to try from the library. The next book is All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. I picked this up on a whim. This is a kind of similar like Hunger Games situation to Lore, where it's like, oh, it's like a battle royale thing, except this is about like villains, I guess. I made it maybe about halfway through this book 2 years ago, and then I dropped it. I was like, I really don't give a shit, and I don't give a shit, so sayonara, sucker. Next we have Crave by Tracy Wolff. This is, I don't know what the fuck my fucking thought process was with this book. Like, what am I doing with like a fucking Twilight knockoff? Like, I don't give a shit. I know that this book is gonna, like, I know this book is gonna piss me off. I haven't read it, okay? I never even read one single page of it, and I never will. Okay. Next we have The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I remember thinking this was all right. I think this is another Owl Crate book that I got through Owl Crate, maybe. I read this years and years ago, and I did not hate it, okay? This was all right, but I don't need it. I'm letting it go. It doesn't bring me happiness, so I'm letting it go. Next up, The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. This is a mystery novel. I read this 2 years ago now, and I thought it was all right. There were some parts that I thought, the first half, this is the thing that I have with, I feel like, almost every horror or mystery novel that I've ever read. The first half was really good, and the second half just fucking faded out into oblivion for me. So, this is something that I don't really care to revisit. I don't care. Next we have Blood Like Magic by Liselle Sambury. This is a YA fantasy about witches, I think. You can actually very clearly see where I read to, because I was using the dust cover as like a bookmark, and then there's horrible sun damage on the rest of the book. I didn't care enough. I'm really sorry, Miss Sambury. I just didn't care enough. This is another situation where like it felt very young, juvenile to me, and I just didn't care. Next we have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This is another book that I'm like kind of actually sort of interested in, but if I really wanted to read it, I'll just get it from the library. I read whatever that fucking book about the 7 Deadly Sins is by Carrie Maniscalco, and I did not love it. Okay, actually I kind of hated it. And this is like an interesting concept. It's a YA romance about like a girl who falls in love with a Jack the Ripper, I think. I was the girl who loved the Ripper. Okay, says the back. But how much do I care? The answer is I don't. So, bye. Next we have Foul Days by Genoveva Demova. This is like a Slavic fantasy YA. I read this last year and I was kind of interested in it, but I really, like, I don't care. I don't care. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in this book a year out from reading it, so... Next we have Catwoman, Trail of the Catwoman, the DC compact comic. I have 2 copies of this. My friend got me a copy for Christmas. So I don't need 2 copies, and I'm getting rid of the one that I bought for myself because I'm sentimental like that, and I want the one that my friend gave me. Remote Control by Nnedi Okorafor. I like Okorafor. I think her writing's really interesting. I think the concepts that she brings to the table are really interesting. This is like a sci-fi dystopia kind of about like this girl who has the power to like kill things with her touch. But like I just felt like everything in this book was underdeveloped. And it's very short. It's not something that I'm ever gonna revisit, so goodbye. Next we have So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. This is like another YA, this is a queer YA romance about, I think it's a prince and a warlock. I read this book a couple years ago, don't remember anything about it except that it was like very normal kind of fantasy romance vibes. Like cozy fantasy just in general doesn't do much for me. I really don't give a fuck. I would try another book by F.T. Lukens. I didn't hate this. I thought this was cute. I know they have another one about like ghost hunters maybe. And I love ghosts. I love ghost hunters. So I would try that, but this doesn't tickle my fancy and it will never tickle my fancy. Next we have Accomplishments of the Duke's Daughter by Rhea, illustrated by Haruki Futaba. I purchased this. This is another whim purchase, okay? I was like, you know what? I've never read a light novel. Let me check out a light novel. And I'm never gonna read this. I don't care enough. I'm never going to like pick this over something else. I like those fucking stupid isekai like stories where it's like, I was reincarnated in the empress's body and she's abused by her husband and like blah blah blah, but like her bodyguard is like really handsome and he's protecting her and they're gonna take over the kingdom. I don't know, I love those stories. And this is like kind of that, but in a light novel form. And I if I had to choose between this reading a light novel of that concept and reading like a webcomic, I would choose the webcomic. So I don't need this. Next we have The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. This is, I think this is like historical fiction romance kind of deal, maybe. Me no. I stole this from Barnes & Noble, so I'm doing my due part and giving it back. I don't even know why. I don't read literary fiction very much. I read like sci-fi and fantasy shit. Like, I don't know why on God's green earth I was like, let me 5-finger discount this book. What the fuck was wrong with me? Anyway, that was years ago, by the way. So Barnes & Noble, you can't get me. I'm like out of the fucking, the time of where you can capture me. Next we have Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate. This is like another fiction, they're all fiction. This is another like historical fiction kind of deal. I don't know how this book came into my possession. I didn't steal it, okay? I bought this one. The only one that I stole was this one, which I've never stolen a book in my life except for that. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, I don't know. I don't even know. This one, I don't know who recommended this to me or like how I found out about it. But I don't care. Like, I'm never gonna read this. Next we have Bonesmith by Nikki Palprato. This I read, I think, the first 150 pages of. The cover is so fucking cool, and the concept is so fucking cool, and I was like, I'm in my Elden Ring phase, like, give me some dark fantasy. This is another book that feels very, very YA to me. And is like, I was just like this, like, I wasn't enjoying the reading experience. This is like a YA fantasy about some, like, I think she's a bone mage. They're like necromancers or something. I don't even remember, dude. I read the first 150 pages 2 years ago now, so long time, okay? And I'm never gonna revisit it, so let it go. Next we have, this is Red Queen by who? Victoria Aveyard. This is like fucking Homestuck. It's like YA. Like the color of your blood means something. This is a special edition that I purchased probably in middle school because I think I had seen a BuzzFeed video recommending this book, and then I went to Barnes & Noble and they had this special edition. I was like, well, I could spend, or my dad, because I wasn't spending my own money, my dad can spend $15 on the regular version or $25 on this version. It has been sitting on my shelf since middle school. I have not read it. I've never even picked it up, attempted to read it, and I never will. And if I really want to read it, I will read it from the fucking library. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't want this. Next we have The First Sister by Lyndon A. Lewis. This book was just making me angry about like random bullshit. I don't even remember. This is a book where I was like so excited because I was like, the concept is so cool. First sister has no name and no voice. As a priestess of the sisterhood, she travels the stars. I was like, that's so fucking awesome. But I don't know, then it was some bullshit. And I'd like, get the fuck out of my face. Next up, we have another little collection here. This is the first 3 books in Keepers of the Lost Cities. I, as you can see, read the first one. So when I was 15, I was a CIT at a summer camp, and a little girl who was, 9 or 10 recommended me Keepers of the Lost City, and she was like, it's a great book series, I really love it, like you should really read it. And I was like, okay. And I wanted to connect with these kids, so I like bought the first 3 books. What I neglected to think about is the fact that I was not 10. I was 15. I was, a freshman, sophomore in high school. Like, I can't read this kind of juvenile fiction anymore. It doesn't work for me unless it's like a super, super interesting new concept or like something that I really have a nostalgic attachment to. So like I think about like The City of Ember or like Matilda. Like I can't read this stuff. All this is doing is reinventing the wheel. This is not, doing anything cool or special. Anyway, I don't need that. I would rather give that to a young child who would actually legitimately enjoy it because that means so much more to me. Than me, my big fat ass fucking having it, my chud ass, like get out of my face. Next we have The Grand Sophie by Georgette Heyer. I also have Frederica by Georgette Heyer, and between the two, I would rather read Frederica. The Grand Sophie is like, I don't know why I would pick this one. Like I don't need 2 of her books. I think I read part of this and I couldn't get into it, and I was like, well, let me just keep the one that is more well known and more popular and that more people like, and get rid of this one that I tried and didn't like. Next we have Sisters of the Snake by Serena and Sasha Nanua. This is another Owl Crate book. This has been sitting on my shelf for years and years now that I'm just never gonna read. This is like a Princess and the Pauper story, I think, where they like are not actually sisters, but they look very similar and they like switch places maybe. That's been done before, by Barbie, and done better by Barbie, so I don't need to read this, I don't think. This is also YA, in the way that I don't give a shit. So next is Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mirror. I read, I don't know, the first 50 pages of this. I just thought the humor was so millennial. When it's too millennial, I literally can't handle it. It starts pissing me off in like the root of me. You know what I mean? And like when I say millennial humor, I mean very specifically internet millennial humor. I think they're like, millennials can be very, very funny, and some of the funniest fucking people in the world right now are millennials, okay? This is like a cozy fantasy kind of thing, cozy romance fantasy. She's working for the villain and they like fall in love, but also this is part of a trilogy. I thought this was a standalone. It's not a standalone. And those are all the reasons why I'm getting rid of it. I don't care. I don't care. Next, we have Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. I read this a couple years ago. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a cool concept, but I didn't love it. And it's not something that I'm ever going to revisit, I don't think. But anyway, I just think this is a book that would be better served by somebody else and not me. So I must part ways with it. Next, we have The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. I have read almost all of Ruta Sepetys' books, and I've not given a fuck. I thought this was fine. This is a historical fiction, I think taking place during, like, the Francisco Franco regime, the dictatorship, in 1950s, 60s Spain. Like, this is a book that I'm never going to revisit, and is for younger people, and it's like, I don't know, this is a book that I feel would be better served elsewhere. Next, we have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. This one is, like, the number one that I'm like, I am so torn over. But here's the thing. I know that I am not going to fucking read this. I have, a lot of my friends' reviews on Goodreads are very high. They're like 4 or 5 stars. People in general really, really like John Green. I'm just not going to read this. I'm not going to read this. This is like a YA, fiction about a girl, I think, with OCD. And I know that I'm never going to pick it up. I know that I'm never going to pick it up. There are things that, like, in the battle for my attention, this is probably never going to win, which sucks to say. Next, we have These Shallow Graves by Jennifer Donnelly. I read this a long time ago. This is like a YA mystery, maybe kind of horror. I don't really think it's that much of a horror, but I read this in middle school, I think, and it's just something that I'm never going to revisit. Next, we have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a newer book. I think I read this last year. This is a cozy fantasy. I just don't really give a shit about cozy fantasies. I thought this was all right for a cozy fantasy, but it was kind of long. There were parts that were cute. I thought the romance was cute. I really didn't give a shit about the main character. I thought the world was kind of interesting, but, like, ultimately, these cozy fantasies just don't do much for me. Like, I don't care. Anyway, those are all the books that I'm culling this year. Okay, pretty big selection. I definitely could have been a little stricter with myself, but I don't know. I love my books. I love having a big library. I can't get myself to part with these shits. And, worst case scenario, if I ever want to read any of these, the library will always exist. And so too will pirating. Not that I recommend that. Which brings up an interesting question of, like, what is the morality of pirating something that you once had owned, that you did purchase, but then you got rid of? Except for the stationery shop, which I did not purchase. If you think I'm an asshole or a fool for getting rid of any of these books, please feel free to leave a comment. Will I care? No. But I will read them. The comments that you leave, not the books. Fuck the fucking books, dude. Now I'm gonna be abandoning you like I'm abandoning my books, okay? Au revoir. Ha!